Hello again and welcome to another video from the Marketing Study Guide. In this video I'm going to have a look at joint space perceptual maps and why they're so powerful and why you should be using them with your marketing analysis. Now no doubt you have seen the standard two-dimensional or two-attribute perceptual map that sits in most marketing textbooks, and I have constructed one here for a snack food product. So going from very sweet across to not sweet at all, high in carbohydrates to no carbs at all. So I suppose your first question is, why would we construct this map when we can tell that about the various brands in the market? We can measure or have a look at their ingredients and see where they fall in carbs, and we can also do some sort of taste or sugar analysis to work out how sweet they are. Not sweet at all. The reality is that we don't care about reality. These are perceptions. So we're mapping consumer perception. So that's point one. So that's why we're using it rather than some sort of technical analysis. We want to understand how the consumers think about the various brands. Which ones do they perceive to be high in carbs? Which ones do they perceive to be sweet? Some of these brands they may not buy regularly. So they may buy occasionally or never buy, and where they think these brands fall will determine their loyalty, their frequency of purchase. Are they consumers, non-consumers? So very valuable information, even though technically we can construct it from a product viewpoint. We're really interested in consumer perceptions. So this is our standard one, and I've just got various brands mapped out with the letters A, B, etc. Now, what is the best position on that perceptual map? The simple answer is we don't know. Now, for some reason, there's always been this perception that the top right-hand corner here is the best positioning. No, that's not true, that's not correct. It depends on the attributes, it depends on the products, the brand mix that we're looking at. So the only way we can tell that, because obviously this information is coming from consumer surveys, is to also ask about consumer preferences. What is the ideal sweet range for you for a snack? What is the ideal? So that some people are going to answer all over the place. We then can do some sort of segmentation and create segments, which is where the joint space comes in. We're going to map perceptions of brands to segment preferences. So from the same data and the same attributes, we can create segment preferences. So once we start mapping, these are different ones. So there's a segment up there. There's one over here. There's one roughly here, down here, over here, and then finally right down here. Now we can say how well these products or brands are positioned. So we've got A and B, which is up in the right quadrant, but there's two target markets sitting up there. So they are actually quite well positioned, because even though there's two of them, they're side by side, and we always talk about in positioning you want to be distinctive and have your own point of difference, but they're tapping in to two segments. So even though there's a direct competitor, they are well placed. And we thought C over here was sort of out of it. It was sort of a disconnect to everybody else seems to be falling around here, and C's off by themselves. So you go, hey, what did they get wrong? They're targeting a different segment, and they are well placed. Like these two brands. Here they've got two segments, they've got a segment each. In theory, they've got their own segment, so they are well positioned. Down here, we've got very poor positioning, because we've got a cluttered marketplace and we've got only one target market, and H seems to be quite close to that, and maybe I, but D down here is just in a bad spot and needs to reposition itself. Now, one thing I haven't got here is the size of these segments. So for this exercise, I'm just assuming they're all the same size. Maybe if this was quite a large segment, that might be okay, but if it's just a normal average size segment, then D is not great. We've got one here and we've got two brands targeting that. Again, relatively well positioned, but there's only one target market, and then F's sitting down there. Now, without overlaying consumer preferences and having a segmentation approach, we just don't know what the ideal is. And we can now tell how well these positions are. Now, very important, we need to do this on a segmentation basis. So if we just took the average of all these segments, so rather than 6 segments, we just look at the overall market, we might find the average of these preferences is somewhere around there, which then tells us that nobody is well positioned, because maybe G, but you know, C, which we said was good, A and B, who we said were good, F we said were good, was good position. Now, if we just look at the average, suddenly it's badly positioned. So we've got to get down to segment preferences rather than the overall market. Now, just a last tip. We've done this sort of overall. What we could do is construct one of these maps for each segment. The reason is that for each target market I've got there, it changes positioning. The perception of, let's say, this segment down here, they are probably going to see these brands differently as opposed to this segment up here. So not only do we map segments, but we map the perceptions. So that must be part A, and go, oh, okay, there's some significant differences here. Okay, let's revise all these scores, brand positions, based on the segment's view. Now, if we have customer data or a survey data, we're able to do that. So keep in mind, joint means both the brand perceptions and the segment preferences joined together into one perceptual map, and it takes it from a, you know, are we well positioned? I don't know, into yes, I have very clear information about positioning, where we're doing well, where we're not. Hopefully, good video. Please like and subscribe.